Content is being sent to a third party. Okay, there we go.
Thank thank you so much, Rob, for joining me on the Sami Parvez show. It is a pleasure to have you.
Well, thank you, Sammy, for having me. It's great to be here.
Yeah, and thank you so much. This is very first time for the viewers that we are live on our interview with a political candidate. Is Mr. Rob like agreed with me for being live, and thank you so much, sir, uh, for joining me and asking to be live. Is many like your fans and family or friends want to watch you. Okay, and could you please, like, before begin, could you please talk about yourself, your background, why are you running in this election?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I was born in St. Catharines, and I went to school in St. Catharines in Port Dalhousie. So in Niagara, I'm not just kind of a lifelong Niagara resident. I'm actually like we were kind of saying before we started, um, a fourth generation entrepreneur. It's actually 100 years this year, the anniversary that my great grandfather uh, came to Port Colborne from Croatia. So we've kind of have a long, kind of history of different things as entrepreneurs in different areas of business in Niagara. Um, and I've myself run a martial arts school for the past 20 years in Niagara Falls called Niagara Kung Fu Academy. And then I'm also in real estate development. That's kind of our family business. I've been re in real estate too, as a real estate agent and a real estate investor also for about the past 20 years. So that's, kind of my background, and I've noticed it does, fit in really well with kind
Yep.
of the campaign we're going into right now and the issues that we're facing in St. Catharines. Primarily I see our biggest issues in St. Catharines are the housing crisis, homelessness, and
Mm-hmm.
the mental health crisis, which is kind of all related, right? A lot of the
Mm-hmm.
homelessness is because of mental health, and a lot of mental
Yep.
health issues are because of the homelessness. It's all related. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, it's kind of like where my specialty of teaching, martial arts and character development and mental and physical development, and my knowledge of how to build housing at the same time, they really come in. And I just wanted to, offer a level of service if I can, in whatever way possible. And it just so happens to be these are, the pressing issues. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my, where I'm coming from, my background.
Mm-hmm. And so, is it your first time that you decided to run as a candidate for a political party, right?
Yes, yeah, I never ever up until maybe a few months ago, no, sorry, a few weeks ago, I never saw myself in politics. It's not something that I wanted to do, and I think only, maybe me and my wife, we would have talked about it over you know, tea in the morning. I think we might have talked about it as a kind of a joke, right? Maybe like a month ago, but it wasn't something that I saw myself in. And but with this snap election coming up, we were looking through our options and looking at what's going on in our neighborhoods, and what's going on at every level of government, federal, provincial, regional, municipal. And I'm looking, okay, well, who are we going to vote for in the provincial election? We voted for Doug Ford in 2018, and I just looking at everything the way it's gone. For me personally, I said I can't bring myself to vote for him. A lot of times you kind of dismiss stuff, and they say you hold your nose and you go to the poll, and I
Mm-hmm.
couldn't do that and vote for Doug Ford this time after what I've seen. Um, his messaging doesn't really resonate with me anymore, so I thought, well, who else do I have to vote for? So when we voted for New Blue in the last election, but this time there wasn't a candidate in my area, so I said, okay, well, I'll just have to do it myself then, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And so, what plans do you have differently than your competitors?
Well, the plans are a lot of it is just coming from my understanding of how real estate works, right? And from what I've seen is, the PC government, the Ford government is acting very, liberal when it comes to housing. right?
Mhm.
And they are very affected by, from what appears to me, they have a very um, they're impacted by a lot of lobbyists, especially in the GTA and the Greater Toronto area, right?
Mhm.
There's a lot of lobbying there, a lot of big developers that are pushing weight around in a way that serves big GTA developers, but it doesn't serve us down here. It doesn't serve us at the local level. So I understand that a little bit more, and I also understand how housing is built.
Mhm.
So, I find that the NDP, well-meaning, they are always chanting for affordable housing and demanding affordable housing. Unfortunately, demanding and putting your hand out for something and actually getting it built are two very different things. You if you just kind of ask for it and bug for it and want money thrown at it, that's not a guarantee it's actually going to get built. And
Mhm.
it won't necessarily get built in a meaningful way that's going to give a long-term result. A lot of these short-term solutions that are asked for and sometimes put into place, they have, they can have potentially disastrous long-term effects if they're not done properly. So,
Mhm.
when you want to fix housing and you want to make affordable housing, it's not just a matter of like I said, it's not just a matter of getting a bunch of mobile houses and then dropping them on an empty parking lot. Like that will work short term, but it's not a long-term solution to developing housing that we need in Niagara, right?
Mhm.
So, my experience in building that, but also over the past few years, I've had to work with federal government, provincial government, and regional government in order to get housing built. So if you want an example, you can, if you're ever in downtown St. Catharines, if you're in downtown, you look up and you see the 18-story building of residential that's there now. That was built during the pandemic. That's the project I've been working on over the past 3 or 4 years. So and I understand how the building got built. It didn't get built by, going to the government asking for money, which is what everyone thinks
Yeah.
happens. It doesn't happen that way. It's actually a complex process of, kind of going in between everything, making sure that, obviously at the regional level, you've got to get all your permits and your building stuff in place. That's one thing. But then you've also got to work on financing the building and, keeping the financing going as the building goes up, right? Once that building starts, it doesn't stop. There's no
Mhm.
there's no pause button on it, and everything has to be coordinated and everything has to be, financed properly so the construction money keeps coming in. And if you miss a step there and everything's stalled, it's going to cost a lot more money. You can't do that. So
Mhm.
um
So, yeah, please go ahead.
no, 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 you go. It's okay. I
So,
just want
like, what specific plans do you have, like in your mind, or maybe in your
yeah.
campaign, that how the houses should be built and how they should be affordable? Like it seems like in Ontario, like it is out of touch. Everything, like you cannot. I don't think you can get something less than 2,000 for an apartment or one bedroom.
we we
Like, so what plan? What should be done, or what
so
plan do you have?
what we need what we call purpose-built rentals. Okay, so purpose-built rentals is like an apartment building. It's not like a house that was converted into 3 or 4 units. It's an
Mhm.
apartment building that was specifically designed for that purpose, to house people for rent. Okay,
Yep.
not condos. We know that the condo market has just been completely destroyed in Toronto. No one is going to be building condos. We need purpose-built rentals, right?
Mhm.
And we need them very fast. Now, it is our hope and understanding and expectation that when the federal government changes, okay, and let's say so Pierre Poilievre gets in office and he, opens up the floodgates and a lot of housing is going to get built because a lot of the things that are holding us back from building more housing are going to be set aside, right? The provincial government needs to be ready for that, and they're not ready for that right now. Their structures are built on, a lot of sprawl, right? Well, we don't need that. I mean, okay, if some people want that, so if they can afford that, if they can afford the sprawl and the houses that are worth, that fill up the lot and they're worth a million, million and a half, $2 million, that's fine, but that's not really going to fix a lot of the housing crisis, right? And it's also going to chew up a lot of green space that we would like to keep. Now, particularly for St. Catharines, we don't have the option for that kind of sprawl, right? So specific to St. Catharines is a landlocked city. You can't move it east, you can't move it west, right? You can't go north. There's Lake Ontario there. So you have to get creative in how you're building. You can't just buy a big piece of land and build a subdivision. You have to go up. So there's a push for intensity there in purpose-built rentals, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we don't get the province in line with that building with the federal government, there's going to be a lot of housing state stagnation, and this is what I've been warning against. A lot of the stagnation is going to come, first of all, from the Ontario Landlord and Tenant Tribunal. Okay, so I'm not sure if you're familiar with the Landlord and Tenant Tribunal. A lot of this was installed during the 90s when Bob Ray came in and he brought in a lot of these things, and they were well intentioned and they were good for the time, but at this point now, especially after the pandemic, they are disastrous. Okay, so let me give you a hypothetical.
Yep.
Okay, you could be a tenant, and I thought about this analogy today. I apologize for being a little bit graphic, but
No.
you could be a tenant and you can move into a house and you can pay first month and last month deposit. And then you could do nothing else but lay on the floor and defecate for a whole year. And that's it. And legally there'd be nothing the landlord could do to get you out. You could be there for as long as a year without any recourse from the landlord. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that happens, but the law is structured in a way where it potentially could happen. So if the landlord doesn't have a right to protect his property, okay, he's going to be less likely to put that property on the market, right? So we need to have an improvement in the way landlords can deal with not like, well, tenants in general, but these tenants that are like a very small percentage of tenants, mind you, they can be disastrous and they can cost a landlord tens of thousands of dollars. And they have done this, right? There's a lot of stories where landlords will tell you they lost $40,000,
Yep.
$50,000, and they're just kind of expected to just, well, you're a landlord, just take it, just go back to your giant money pit that we assume you have somewhere and just take it. Well, a lot of these people, they don't have that. Like they would have saved, maybe they would have worked for a decade or two to buy this investment property so they have a retirement plan. It's not like
Mm-hmm.
they're Scrooge McDuck that they go and they swim in money at the end of the night, right? They can't afford to lose 10, 30, $40,000 a year on this rental, right? It just is not possible. And it's
Yep.
not fair that we expect that from people. So again, and if you want to expect that from people and say, well, that's your problem, okay, fine, but then you can't be surprised when we have inventory all over the city that's sitting vacant because people don't want to put it on the market. They have a basement apartment somewhere, they have a backyard apartment somewhere. They don't want to put it on the market because they don't want to risk the $50,000 a year they could lose from dealing with that potentially nightmare tenant. So
Mm-hmm.
this landlord and tenant stuff needs major reform, and it's not like it only affects the landlords, it affects the tenants too. So I talk to people who are good people. I have one friend who's a teacher. She's got a good job, but she's so frustrated because before an agent will show her a property, they want like background check, they want bank statements, they
Yep.
want a credit check, they want all these things. Like we never asked for this stuff before. Like when I was a landlord, I asked
Mm-hmm.
for a bit, but not like all this stuff they're asking for. Like it's crazy. But the landlords are so scared they don't have the option to, give someone a chance,
Yep.
which they used to do because the everything is so restrictive in the landlord and tenant. Like it would take a year to kick someone out. So this is not like I'm not trying to make a pitch saying, oh, boo-hoo for the landlords. This affects everyone. It affects the tenant, the landlord, and it desperately needs reform. So that's one thing I'm going to be working on. One thing I like to work on if I'm getting that seat, I want to bring this in and say, guys, if we're going to build this new housing that's coming, this has to be fixed. Otherwise, we're going to have stagnation and people aren't going to be moving into the places they need to move into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and the example you gave, like now I understand how it worked because, like back in 2022 when we were moving from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, here like it was asking too much. I asked my dad what's going on. Like he said, like it mean that he gave the example, like like the tenants, like they don't fully maintain the house and they do lots of things, and some people don't leave, like they need to do their all work before letting in. So it means it is tricky, yeah, like, and also it will take too much time, and also it is. uh, hard for the tenant, like to do these all work, then get the house. So so we also aware, like you gave an example of Pierre Puliar is trying to may build as much houses as he wants, or maybe more. So what do you think, like is there a red tape, like some bureaucrats maybe don't let houses to be built? So how do you see the red tape?
I hear this a lot. This is usually the first question people ask.
Mm-hmm,
And from my experience in St. Catharines has been really good to work with, right? I understand that there's, there are building codes that we have to abide by. And at times, like, sure, you feel it, we feel from the developer's point of view that it might be a little bit excessive, and the city thinks that it's not enough, and we got to meet somewhere in the middle. But the city of St. Catharines has been really good to work with. And I know it, like, it's sometimes we get into it and we go back and forth a little bit and we get at each other's throats a little bit, but at the end of the day, like, there's mutual respect, we work through it, and we've been getting this building built. And when we need stuff, we're in a jam, we need help, they're there to help us. So I can't say that happens at a regional level. Now,
mm-hmm,
on the provincial and federal level, on the other hand, is a completely different story. I think that the CMHC program, I think it has a lot of money sitting there that the government says is there to help, and it's not there to help. I mean, it is potentially there to help, but when you have a bureaucrat there
mm-hmm,
who's signing off on some of the construction financing for CMHC, and they don't understand construction timelines, and they don't understand, they in some cases, it seems like to me, like, I would say seems like that happened. I'm just trying to be a little political here. They
mm-hmm,
move the goalpost at the last second, and they potentially delay a project like this for 30 days. A project delay like that for 30 days is not like, oh, let's just go home and chill out then for 30 days until the CMHC agrees to fund the project. It costs hundreds of thousands of dollars if you're going to stall a project like that, which a bureaucrat at the federal level does not understand. And
mm-hmm,
this is why the money this CMHC is saying they're shelling out to help, it's not actually getting to where it needs to go. All right. And
mm-hmm,
this is for us, this was the greatest irony. And I'm going to speak up about it now because I'm kind of at a point where I'm getting upset that these issues haven't been solved. And they are solvable, and they're not getting solved. And I don't understand why. And that's why I want to get in and I want to fix this. But for the federal government announced this housing accelerator fund that was supposed to come and build all this infrastructure. Now it's gradually moving now. At the municipal level, right? Because the city in St. Catharines is pretty good and they're motivated. I like our mayor. I like the people of the city. They're all very good. But the federal MP came up to say that, like, we're delivering this housing accelerator, and they did it on our building lot, right? And we
mm-hmm,
kind of did it like, as the, like, well, come on, and you can use the lot, but can you hear out some of the ideas that we have to fix this housing crisis, because we have hands-on experience on how to get these things built, and wouldn't it be good to hear some of our ideas out that we can keep building more? And we were trying to get an interview, a meeting with Sean Fraser, the housing minister at that time,
mm-hmm,
right? Well, Chris Biddle, our MP in St. Catharines, was the secretary for him, so we were hoping we could make that connection. And we just kept getting, blown off and blown off and blown off, and our ideas never really got heard, which is unfortunate because I think they were good ideas at the time, and instead they got blown off for the this strawberry wartime house catalog that they presented, right? That was supposed to
mm-hmm,
be a housing solution, and ended up going nowhere. It's sitting on a shelf somewhere. It never got implemented. It hasn't built a single house. So it is really depressing to look at when you're you're passionate about housing, and
mm-hmm,
you don't see this stuff get done, when it could. So I'm hoping that not only can we, if we can get some leverage and get these ideas out, even if we don't win, if I don't win the seat, I'm just hoping these ideas get out and someone says, hey, we should listen to that. Let's implement some of this stuff, right?
mm-hmm. Yeah, and earlier you talked about drug issues, homelessness, you know, like you said, like if someone like get drug addicted, then uh, uh definitely you will get like homeless because he would lose everything, and then he would be on the street. So what plan do you have, and who should be held accountable for this homelessness crisis and drug addiction?
Who should be held accountable? That is a great question. So
Mhm.
I thought about this. Okay. And there are some people that will be held accountable. But if anyone watching wants to hold someone accountable, here's what we have to do. We have to hold up a mirror. We have to look in it. And that's who to blame. We have ourselves to blame because we keep voting the same way. So if you
Mhm.
want to blame anything, blame anyone, the best thing you could do is you can look in the mirror and say, am I going to keep doing the same thing that got us into this mess? Or am I going to take accountability and do something different? If we keep voting the same way, we're going to keep getting the same results, right? So it'd be for me, and this is what I teach my students, accountability. It is far more productive to look at yourself in the mirror and say, what can I do differently than it is to point the blame. This is what we refer to as having an internal locus of control. Okay. So I'm not saying that I blame people that voted for Trudeau. I blame myself because I should have been more vocal about this, and I was too shy to say anything when it would have maybe made more of a difference, you know. And maybe if I would have spoken more people would have been alert to this stuff, and maybe we wouldn't have had Justin Trudeau, you know, win a third vote. So,
Mhm.
I kind of blame myself, and I ask other people to look the same thing. Look at yourself in the mirror and take some different action if you want different results. You were talking, sorry, but you had
No.
another part of that question there before that,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
And it was about the homelessness issue and the drug issue, which is all related. So I can talk to um let me get into the homelessness issue. Okay.
Yep.
We have Niagara Regional Housing here, which has a lot of affordable housing and it has a lot of geared to income housing. Okay. And the problem we're having is not so much, I mean, yes, we do need more stuff built. And yes, we do need shelters, but it's not as easy as just, like I said, dropping mobile homes on a parking lot. Okay.
Mhm.
Um, we have a good amount of inventory in Niagara Regional Housing that is geared to income housing. So the way that would work is, and if you're watching this is new to you, right?
Mhm.
Geared to income housing works when you'd move in and your rent would be proportionate to your income. Okay, so whatever, 33% of your income. I don't remember what it was, but whatever your income is, you show on your tax return and you'd pay a percentage of that. So if you're only making 25% of what, a market, whatever, like say like above the poverty line, you're only going to pay that portion of rent. Okay. And then as you know, get a new job or you work more hours or you have another family member move in who also earns a paycheck, well, then your rent's going to go up proportionally. Okay. Now, at some point, your rent's going to go up as you make more money and you're going to hit the market level for that unit. Okay. Now, it's expected at that time, that once you hit that market cap, you're going to want to move out and you're going to want to find something else, something with a bigger yard or another bedroom or a finished basement or whatever, right? But
Mhm.
that's not happening right now. So the reason this is problematic is because there are a ton of people on a waiting list to get into Niagara Regional Housing who need it. And they're not moving in because these people aren't moving up, right? So the reason they're not moving up is because they don't have anything mid-market to move into. Okay. So my kind of message here is like all housing is needed and is good housing because we have income mobility, right? These guys will move up into B class real estate and B class will move into A class and these guys will come in and start taking up this regional housing. We need to have this mobility again. And it's not there, it's stagnation. There's a lot of stagnation and it's there because of just, really crappy policies and people don't understand how the market and the economy is supposed to work, right?
Mhm.
Um, so I think, uh, yeah, this has to be like looked at with a holistic approach. You can't just say, give us affordable housing here. So sorry, and I know these are really long answers I'm giving, but
Yep. Yep.
it's like I'm just trying to get the point across that it's not as simple as why isn't the government building housing? Well, the government doesn't build housing,
Oh,
right? That's
yep.
that's not their that's not their job, right? And I was surprised when I started marketing, being involved in the marketing in this building. A lot of people didn't realize they thought the government paid for this apartment building. And I was like,
Mm,
what? Don't people understand how this works? This isn't communist Russia. The country, the state doesn't control the means of production, right? But
mhm,
they didn't understand that. So I was just surprised at that. Anyway, I can go into the mental health issue now is a little bit different. Because
mhm,
where I come from, a lot of the drugs coming in, okay, this is a problem with China, and
mm,
this is a big problem with opium coming in that Canadians don't want to address yet. They kind of want their blinders on. But
mhm.
the fentanyl issue that Trump has brought up and he's kind of agitated a little bit is a major issue that no one wants to talk about yet. They want to
Mm.
talk about tariff, 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 tariff,
Yep.
tariff, tariff. That's all they want to talk about. When that stuff calms down, okay, and people and cooler heads prevail and people start thinking objectively again, they're going to start looking over there at Vancouver. Okay, there's a great journalist, Sam Cooper, has done awesome
Yep.
coverage on this.
Mhm.
And when they start seeing how infected, how much money laundering and how much drugs is pouring in from there and
It's
how it's
fine.
going over the border, but it's also affecting us here,
Mm.
like if they decide to look at it, people are going to have their minds blown. Okay. And I think a lot of people are not going to want to look at it because
Yep.
it's easier to talk about tariff, 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 right? So at one point, we've got to address this opioid crisis. That's a
Mhm.
part of it, right? But it's not the cause, right? It's the perfect storm. We have people who are kids especially, kids, teenagers, young people. They're experience what I call the resilience deficit. Okay, the resilience is not what it used to be, and I got this from my own experience from teaching kids. I've been teaching kids over the past 20 years, and I
Yep.
have a lot of friends who also are martial arts teachers or dance teachers or music teachers, and they're all saying the same thing. The kids aren't the same as they were before the pandemic, right? It's different. They're either like, if they're either glued to the screen all the time, okay, or they don't have the confidence to even, make eye contact with you or hold a conversation. Um, and they don't have the resilience to just have, kind of conversations like this, difficult conversations, or have mild disagreements, right? Everything is automatically identified as bullying. If someone disagrees with you, well, that's bullying. Well, that's not what bullying is. But if you have no resilience and you constantly see yourself as a victim, you're going to see every kind of confrontation as bullying.
Please.
This is all a symptom of this resilience deficit. And when you get to a point now where you have to deal with a little bit of adversity, you're going to have to self-medicate because you weren't taught to handle those obstacles. Okay. So that resilience deficit is there. And then the self-treatment, the opioids are there. It's the perfect storm. So, yes, we have to stop. We have to try to figure out how to stop, all of this fentanyl coming in, but we also have to be making sure we're building resilient kids. So now on the ground, what that looks like, one policy I want to push forward, which is going to help with this, is bringing back the childhood fitness tax credit. Okay, which was it was in effect on the federal level going back about 10 years ago. I don't know if you knew this, but 10 years ago we had a Harper had we had a yeah 10 years ago we had a federal childhood fitness tax credit. So if you wanted to put your kid into some kind of team sport, you
Yep.
would get a $500 tax credit. Well, that was again over 10 years ago. This thing needs to be brought back, and it can be brought back on the provincial level. There are provinces that have the childhood fitness tax credit, and it needs to be quadrupled to something that's actually effective. Like $2,000 a year is what it needs to be. And it needs to be across the board for any activity that, is a resilience builder. Things like hockey, soccer, baseball, dance, cheer, music, martial arts, all of these things build resilience in kids. And the problem is, as soon as times get tough, when inflation goes up and paychecks don't match, well, these activities, which are crucial for building up resilience, they get thrown out the window. So,
Mm.
if you want to start addressing the mental health crisis and a lot of this opium crisis before it even starts, we got to build up resilient kids. And despite what the government loves to do, we don't have to throw more tax money at this problem to fix it. Okay, we can address this problem with less tax money through just giving people a tax break for $2,000 per child for stuff that that we want to incentivize them to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of my, my personal platform in addition to what, the Blue Party's platform is. These are things that are really near and dear to my heart that
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that if it's not me that puts them into place, I'm hoping that people hear this and it's so common sense that somebody will take it and run with it because we need it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are absolutely right, and you are sharing some great ideas. Maybe like those are new, like particularly what you are saying. I did not air it before, and but like it seems like government is out of touch. Like the ministers are out of touch. Like those particularly elected officials are also out of touch. Like they mostly don't care about residents or citizens or taxpayers. But they do care about themselves. Like particularly, Doug Ford just called this election, which cost Ontarian taxpayer $189 million for this useless election. Like just to secure his job. But what would you do differently as an elected official or as an MPP for your local riding that would set an example for other elected officials?
Well, if I was in Parliament,
Yep.
I would be as loud as I possibly could, and I would find out what is going on with these issues. When you go and talk to people, they explain themselves, really easily, and they explain what the problems are. But I would encourage people like, look, guys, we can't just keep thinking throwing money at these broken systems is going to fix the problem. Like all you're doing, you're constantly, increasing the taxes, which is people are already hurting, and you're jacking the taxes up, with the justification that you're going to fix things. The government is like, you know, 50% efficient at 100% of the problems, fixing 100% of the problems that it causes. A lot of these things, if and when we can fix things by getting out of the way, we need to do that first and foremost. And that can be done. Like I'm saying, the childhood fitness tax credit doesn't require more government money. It just requires the government to give a tax break and get out of the way. But that is very difficult for the regular politician to consider, right? Like tax less, give up a little less, give up a little control, and then you'll have a benefit. There are a lot of solutions like that. It's just not in the thinking. The career politician, I don't think they think this way. And I know it because I've had this meetings with people in regional government when we were talking about, this housing accelerator fund, and how it came in, the federal accelerator fund. And I said, well, why don't you guys you know, instead of just granting this money, why don't you invest it in the project and then pull it out at a profit and not give it to the developer, but make money off your money. Like
Mhm.
don't give it as a grant. Like, good companies, they don't want your corporate welfare, right? If they're truly free market capitalists, which I align myself with, we don't want corporate welfare. We don't want crony capitalism, right? That's for like the big companies that are lobbying the government. We don't want that, right? If anything, just kind of, get out of our way a little bit, right? Oh boy, sorry, that rant kind of lost me my train of thought.
N- No, no, it's okay. Yeah, I know. Like, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about immigration. I know, like, this is mostly related to federal level, but it's still something like provincial also deal with it whenever it is when it needs. Like immigration is also important, but at this time we see like it is flooding, like particularly a province like Ontario. So where do you stand in terms of immigration level? So do you think we need more immigration at this time, or should we reduce it?
Oh wait,
And yeah,
yeah, no, go ahead, go ahead.
yeah, so and also we also see like people are just exploiting, like illegally crossing, either crossing to the US or crossing to the Canada. So what should be done to stop it, and what plans particularly you and your party have for this?
Well, the party wants to tighten up immigration, of course, on the provincial level, and it we know we do need immigrants to come in, but this has to be controlled. It's out of control. They can't even tell us how many people came in last year. They don't know, and they try
Hmm.
to they try to I think they tried to softball a number. I remember hearing the number was like 900,000. And like anyone you talk to, like at the banks, they won't say it publicly, but they're like, guys, this is like it's over 1.2 million. Like the numbers
Hmm.
are ridiculous, right? So at the very least, we need a process where we have to know how many people are coming in. Like an estimation like that is just unacceptable. We have to know, right? There has to, we need to have it. We know, like there is a big concern that, with population decline, okay, but you know, if, if you're in the shower and you bust off your faucet, you have no control over that. Whereas if you keep the faucet on, you can turn it up, you can turn it down, right? You need that kind of control to find out, where you're at and to make sure the absorption is there too, right? If you're just busting the faucet and it's flowing like crazy, you have no control over absorption at all. You don't know how
Yep.
these people are getting absorbed. That's a problematic. And it's unfortunate like this people always associate this argument with racism. It's like, oh my God, come on, guys. You have to be thinking objectively here, right? Like, yeah, Canada is a great melting pot. It's multicultural, but that doesn't mean that you just open the floodgate without
But yep.
without control, right? We have
Mm.
housing issues, we have hospital issues, we've got, the school issues. Like we have to have a little more control on this. So that's kind of, that's where we stand, where I stand.
Yep. Sorry, my camera like got off. Yeah, but I'm here. Okay.
There you
Oh,
go.
yeah, sorry about that. Okay, so it should. Do you know, like, do you have any figure how much, like, Canada or particularly Ontario should receive per year, or how it should be?
How much? Oh, for immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think like at least like half of what we did. If they say we did 900,000, it needs to be
Mm-hmm.
brought back to like half of that. I would say 4 or 500. But I mean, I don't know. I haven't looked at the data enough. They're kind of arbitrary numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I could throw out. I can't really say. But off the top of my head, I would guess half based on the absorption. But I'm definitely open to being corrected on that once I see, good evidence. So
Mm-hmm. And like we have also like healthcare crisis, like majority, I think, if I'm not wrong, Ontarian don't have a family physician, and there is lack of, like, if you go to a walk-in clinic, so you need to wait for 4 or 5 hours to like see a doctor. And if you go to for like testing lab, and also like shortage of nurses or all like these healthcare people. So what plan do you have, and what should be done to tackle it down?
well, this also it's much like what I was saying about the kids and resilience crisis. All
Mhm.
right. The resilience deficit is the same as a health deficit. I mean, our kids are not healthy because of stagnation, right? So we say that an ounce of prevention is worth a ton of cure. So if we can, get kids more active, not just physically but mentally, if their mental well-being is better, right? And they're more active, they're going to have less chronic illness, right?
Mhm.
So, again, you can keep treating the symptoms of it, but you're going to have a lot more long-term success if you address the cause and basically
Yep.
just living unhealthy with poor diet, with poor eating habits, with poor exercise habits. Those are just going to compound and make it worse, right? And the kids, like the number one thing when I'm working with kids in the martial arts school, the number one thing parents complain about is they're on the phone, they're on the screen all the time, right? Well, how do you combat that? Well, you can't just, I mean, one thing is you can just rip the phone away and you could, ban TikTok, but those are like you don't need to do that, right? If you just give them something better to do, something better to focus
Mhm.
on, something to be passionate about, they're going to be more active, and that's going to result in less chronic, hospital visits. I'm not talking about like, when they're when they break an arm or something like that, that's different. But a lot of this stuff is just chronic stuff that could phase out if we were a little bit healthier, if we were a little more active, right? That's a pretty common sense solution. So that goes back to my, childhood fitness tax credit. We got to get these kids moving again.
Hmm. Yep. Okay. And so so how we should increase the number of doctors and nurses? Do you have something? I know, like, it may not be the question I want to ask, but
Yeah. I don't have a magic wand for that. But I could tell you that the capital gains tax that they were going to jack up didn't help. Like making it easier for these guys to, to invest in their business. Um, what I would do, and again, I'm definitely open to correction on this because I haven't put that much thought into that. I'm very on a personal level, I don't find myself in the medical system very often.
Mhm,
So my wife is a homeopathic doctor.
mhm,
I haven't had anything, pharmaceutical in my body for over 20 years,
wow.
and it hasn't really affected me negatively. I'm doing quite well, for my age. When I went to get my health card, she said, "Well, you better renew your health card." And so I said, "Okay, fine, I'll get it just in
Mm,
case." I had one of these very old health cards from the 80s. It was like a white with a
wow.
red strip on it, because I hadn't used it for so long, right? For over
Mhm,
20 years. And the they looked at me, they were like terrified. Like, what do you do if if you get sick? Like, well, I've been lucky I haven't broken any limbs or anything like that. But other than that, I don't have any chronic disease issue. I myself have opted out.
mhm,
Um, and unfortunately, there's not a lot of information about that available in Ontario. That there's a huge bias towards um, the pharmaceutical industry. They do rake up a lot of market share for that kind of stuff. There's not a lot of alternatives that are being discussed. A lot of times they're frowned upon. And that's unfortunate because if they were, talked about more, it would probably alleviate a lot of the backup and the stress on the medical system. Right? If
mhm,
people were looking for alternative solutions. Now, they are after the pandemic, I think people are looking a lot more for alternative solutions now, which is good. So that will help. Um, so I'm not necessarily the best person to ask on, what
mm,
to do to bring these doctors back. I would
mm.
like to see, some things open up more for alternative medicine. They've been, they've had a really rough go, not just recently, but even over the past 100 or 150 years, I think. Now, again, you're back. How long have you been in Canada for, if you don't mind me asking?
I almost 10 years
And we were coming from where?
from Baluchistan.
So, if I'm assuming that you guys have heard of homeopathic medicines more so over there than people
I
have here.
heard them but never used them.
Okay, but they are more prevalent. Again, like not so much here in Canada, but
Yep,
more in that area. They are more prevalent there.
yep,
Um, so I figured you might know where I'm coming from. But
yep.
the doctors, I would say, like again, if you want more doctors in, you have to make it more competitive on a tax basis for them to come in and work if that's what you want, because we lose
Mhm,
doctors to to other countries. We're losing all businesses to other countries right now. Like, people, if someone owns a business, trust me, and if they're employing 5, 10 people, at least I would guess, once a month they're online, they're looking at, hey,
mhm,
what other countries are more tax friendly, right?
yep.
We're losing them all the time. And and maybe people say, well, who cares? They're greedy capitalists, they should go. Okay, well, that's fine, but then you can't really complain when you can't find a job, or you can't find someone that will, that will own a triplex or a duplex or a fourplex that will house people, right?
Mhm,
Eventually, a lot of this real estate is going to get bought up by really, really big real estate conglomerates, like BlackRock or their subsidiaries. And some people are aware of that and they're afraid of that. And they should be, right? They should be more aware of that because it's an issue. So,
mhm. Are you there?
yeah, I'm still here. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So let's jump to another topic. Sorry, like, now it is taking more than that, but you already planned to staying as long as needed,
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
right?
no problem.
Okay. So there is lots of like particularly. So I have lived in Saskatchewan, but I never heard the word wage theft. But when I have come here, so it seems like it is more happening. So this wage theft, and maybe you heard about a story. Dutchies, like there was a protest. I think they are still in the court, and Ministry of Labor like given the decision given in favor of those workers, but still they did not receive their wages. And also there is another company which is called Simplify Supply Chain Solution. It is doing the same thing. Like when you are get kicked out, so you don't have your money. Like I worked there for 3 days. I was kicked out because I refused to working over 13 hours, like which is against of labor law. So I was fired, and with no reason. And then Ontario Ministry of Labor gave the decision in my favor, but still they can't do. Like I spoke with an official who said that we cannot do anything because we just follow the laws. And it could depend on finance minister or Ministry of Finance to do something, or may seize the asset of that particular employer. But still it does not happen. Even one of my colleague told me recently, who is an international student. He worked at Dutchies, like I don't know, like he said the employer owe like around $2,000. He said this is Canada. So can you believe a foreign citizen is calling out to Canada, which is a first world country where these things happen? If it happened in a third world country, that's okay, but it is happening in Canada. Like I think as a Canadian, I'm ashamed to hear what he said. Like people are suffering, like, but it seems like I don't know whether are do they lack of resources, or do they lack of laws and regulation, or these elected officials don't care about what these poor people or middle class people or worker go through. So I'm sorry, like I'm going more than that, but my question is, like, do you have any plan, or did you think about like what should be done to stop wage theft?
You're saying the wage gap,
Wage theft.
wage depth.
Yeah,
I,
theft.
I wait, Seth. So I haven't. This is kind of new. I have to look into this.
Mm-hmm.
What you're talking about, and I would like to hear more about it.
Mm-hmm.
So admittedly, like it's not in our platform, but I have not heard. Honestly, I have not heard it until this second. So give me a quick second because I don't want to
Yeah.
leave this unaddressed.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like we have pretty good standards for employment in Ontario. So you're saying this happened in Ontario?
Yeah, this happen, like many things happen, like particularly this Duchies got highlighted, but the other one, Simplify Supply Chain Solution, they did not get highlight. Like I know, like some people are suffered, but they did not speak. And mostly people are foreign citizen or immigrant or international student, like they don't speak much. And it means it is happening. We have laws, we have regulation, but those are just in the books. They are not in practically. If they were practical, this Duchies or Simplify Change Solution, and there are some other employer. I know, like maybe you heard about Canadian Tire, like brought foreign workers. I don't know, like from which country, and they paid them low. And what our United Nations representative called Canada modern slavery. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
these are very shameful and and terrible words for Canada. Like this is happening, but on the top level, they are doing nothing than saying we are working for you. Like what Doug Ford always says, we are working for you, so it means we are doing everything for the workers. We are fighting for workers class, but that's not true. They are not doing what they're supposed to do. They just they say what people want to listen, but in practically they don't do that. And I'm sorry, like I'm telling it to you, like just a friendly. I'm not yelling on you or not doing nothing. Like I'm not taking out my frustration to you, because those folks don't come appear on the Sami Parvez show. I wrote many emails, letters to these elected officials, from Doug Ford to Minister David Bikini, to my local MPP Aislinn Clancy, and opposition, everyone from the prime minister to a local MPP. But they just respond, we are doing,
Yeah,
we
yeah.
care about you, like. So I need to ask you, like, I know, like, you never heard this one. So do you have any platform? Do you have any plan to do something differently? Like, when something comes up like that, so you would take uh, under your jurisdiction, take a strict action uh, uh, against such people or such employer or company.
Yeah, so what you're telling me is the laws are there in theory, but they're not getting applied.
That's
So,
correct.
do you guys have, if you're filing a complaint about this, is there like, so when you go to the landlord and tenant tribunal,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's assumed that the landlord is in the more powerful position, so he's got to show up, he's got to know his stuff. The tenant typically, and this is changing now, but the tenant typically will not be aware as much of their rights. So when you go to the landlord and tenant tribunal, they have a person there that is ready to explain to you, in a very good way. They're good at their job on what your rights are, and they explain it to you before you're going into tribunal. There's also,
Mm-hmm.
I think they have adjudication there if you don't want to, like, if you want to kind of settle on the side, you can, but in a way where they're making sure you're protected. You're not going into the room with the landlord and getting,
Mm-hmm.
bullied or pushed around. There's that
Yep.
representative there. Do you, in your experience, did you have that when you were going through this?
Yeah, like I'm talking about wage theft. Like it means
No, but
working.
I mean, say, but you've like, if you're filing a claim that there's an issue, okay, that so you've been, you've been wronged either through like your, your employer, say, so what's a common wage gap thing would be like, taking, I'm not sure if you had the example of what it was.
Yeah,
uh
like, okay, so let me give you example. I worked at Simplify Supply Chain Solutions. Okay, I worked there. There was an agreement that you get, like, I don't know, like $20 per hour or $200 per day. Sorry, I'm again
mhm,
gone. Okay,
yeah,
so $200 per day. Okay, so I work, but my working hours are like 5 to 3 or 6 to 4. Okay, 10 hours per day, 11 hours, but 1 hour is your break. But don't get a break. I need to done finish work, like doing delivery. Okay, so like I worked 3 days, and the third day was like I was asked to work more than that. I worked 13 hours. Now I've been asked, no, you need to continue to work. Like I was in Toronto, so I was told, first of all, go to Brampton, then come to Kitchener. So it would take like 2 hours just traveling to Brampton, then 2 hours coming here. It means 4 hours. I already worked 13 hours, which exceed the legal limit, Ontario labor law, which says you cannot work over 13 hours.
mhm,
Okay,
mhm,
so but I was forced. Then I came back here, so I was told, oh, you are no longer employed, and wish you good luck, and we will pay you your dues within 2 weeks. So a month passed, nothing happened. So I filed a claim to Ministry of Labor. So they did their all investigation, and then the official, like the clerk of or the bureaucrat, whatever you call it, that official called me and explained to me. He also told me that he knows about this company, Simplify Solution Chain, which is a local company. I think the owner lives in Gulf. So it is happening many time. He happened, and he also precautioned me, like, whenever you are taking a job, you must do research. Search on
mhm.
Indeed, everywhere, see the reviews, then take the job. Like it means the top level are aware, but still nothing happened. It seems like that's why I would say that the laws are in the books, but they are not in practical. Yeah, he says he took all his, like, it means he did what he could under the laws, but the laws are made by elected officials, not
Hmm.
that like clerk or that official or officer of Ministry of Labor. So so it means then nothing happened. I received the letter from Ministry of Labor. Yeah, we received your claim. It means the decision is given in your favor. Now it is with Ministry of Finance. It means they need to deal it with it. How they would, whether they would seize their asset or whatever. It means they need to. Uh, you need to get your money. Like now I don't think like Ministry of Finance is going after an employer or a corporation, like particularly this premier Doug Ford, who is more focused with employer than workers. So this thing happened, like they owe like my like maybe around less than $1,000, but there is a guy who worked for Dutchies, so this got highlighted. So the employer owes to this person $2,000, and there is another lady, I think, uh, the employer owes to her like I think $7,000, and this decision is still now before the court. I think the pros. So I'm not fully aware about that one, but that is ongoing case.
Hmm.
It was also highlighted, I think, a couple of months ago on national media. So these things are happening. Even
Hmm.
though there was another guy, like I told him my story. He said it happened many times with me because you worked on cash, like like you should not work on cash, which is
Yeah.
illegal. But people are compelled. If you don't get a job, so you can do it. I remained unemployed for a year. Then I got that job, Simplify. I took it because I did not have any other option. So this thing happen, and these things are happening, like this does not did not happen just with me, but it happened with many other folks. But those are like international students, foreign
Hmm.
citizen. They
Hmm.
don't know their rights, and no one speaks. So I did in my capacity, I did everything I could, but but the issue has not been resolved. But this is now not about me, that I did not receive my money, but there are other people are working, the company is running, they are hiring and firing. So it means nothing happened. So this is what happened, and I want to know, like, would you like to comment on it, or would you like
I
to?
know. I'd like to know. I would like to know more about it. I would definitely like to look into it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to know again. And I apologize for kind of
No,
being
no, please.
ignorant about this, but I would like to know what kind of systems are in place to inform workers of their rights if this comes up. And if you file a complaint, I want to know if there's someone there that is able to kind of help you and advocate for you through this process, so people don't get taken advantage of. Because it does seem like a very, it's a vulnerable thing if it's not getting dealt with and people aren't getting that help. That definitely needs to be brought up. And the other thing I would say is that it kind of ties into, our policy about ending lobbyists. A lot of these laws get put in place, in Parliament, and they're lobbied for by big companies,
Mm-hmm.
and and we want to get rid of that kind of lobbying so that the individual's voice is not drowned out by, a giant corporation. And again,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not anti-corporation. I'm anti-corporate cronyism, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't like when, corporations try to get ahead by getting in bed with the government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it would be my suspicion, that's probably a product of that. And if we can end a lot of the lobbyism, then we're not going to have those issues. But those laws should be put in place, not so much by lobbyists, but by the people. So I think that would help. Again, it's not a short-term solution, it's a long-term solution.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, again, that's the best I could offer you right now, not having looked into it as much as I
Yeah,
could.
yeah, you can see it, and if you need any emails or copies from me, I can share about my case log, what happened, and now what's going on now. Now, like, just I need to wait. maybe something happen. I know like nothing would happen. I have lost the trust to this system.
Hmm.
Like that's
Hmm.
why I would today openly confess that in every upcoming election I'm going on the in the polls. I will decline my ballot to in
Hmm.
a protest. Like why I have an MPP or MP or elected official representative uh who is maybe out of touch or who does not have any authority. So why we have them? Like something should change. Like this is as you said earlier. I like the sentence you said. If you keep voting for the same people, it means no one, then you should be blamed yourself. Like they are not going to make any changes until we don't see a change, until we don't see new faces. It should not be just conservative or liberals, or particularly sometime NDP, but we need new faces, like from other new blue party, or there are some other similar parties or independent candidates. Those should get chances to come. Like
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
should not be more uh, partial or like biased, but I should remain unbiased. But those are just my thoughts, which I'm sharing. I think I have the right to tell you like what's going on in my mind. Like I do like a live, and we do like before we did it every Sunday. We encourage the everyone to get out vote, and don't vote for the same candidate. Vote for someone else, like who never got elected. Vote for
Hmm.
independent voices. Vote for similar parties. This could bring the changes, but unfortunately I don't know like how we can change. And I'm going to, I'm sorry like if we are still going too long, but I'm going to ask you, like, like we know like the Canadian way. They are very polite. They are always smiles are on their faces. I mean, we if we take a look back in Justin Trudeau, so he got found twice breaking ethics law, but he remains a prime minister. He again got elected, re-elected twice. But so, how do you see like a small party like New Blue Party? You think could get elected and would bring more people? Uh, it means to bring more supporters or get more voters. So, what's your analysis on this?
Um, there's actions to get elected, and then there's actions to follow your values. So I think Doug Ford, when he brought on this whole Team Canada and he wanted to put on his, Team
Mm-hmm.
Canada hat and his cape and be Captain Canada, it was to get, to shore up some power and to shore up some votes.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it was done in a way that was congruent with his character. And I think at some point in politics, people might start, with the idealism, what they want to do, and then at some point they abandon a little bit of that to get the vote, and then a little bit more and a little bit more. And there will be temptation, I'm sure, for myself as well, to
Mm-hmm.
start altering the values that I have in order to get votes. I've made a promise to myself that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to, speak what I feel is true
Mm-hmm.
to me. And if it's not going to get me elected, I would much rather be do my best to be a person of character and live by my values. If the new blue party can keep to that and keep to their values, then that's a party that I'm gonna keep following. And I could only hope and pray that Canadians will see that and they'll respond. Okay. And if the party starts doing what, you know, saying things it thinks it needs to say just to get elected, well
Mm-hmm.
then that's when we would, anyone like that, that's where our paths, deviate. I'm not trying to say that, not cast like a negative judgment. It's just that's not what I want to do, and it's not how I want to live my life. So, will how many votes will we get? I don't know. It depends, I guess, on how much Canada values the policies and values integrity, right? Part of being a leader and having integrity means you're going to say things that people don't want to hear,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately. And the things that people don't want to hear, yeah, it's going to cost you votes. That's the world we live in, right? But at the end of the day, I've got to go to sleep at night. I got to wake up in the morning and look myself in the mirror, and I want to be happy with what I see. And living according to principles and values is the way to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Not
Yeah.
not not telling
Mhm.
people what they want to hear.
Wow, great point. I like it. Okay, so we are now over an hour. I know, like, I love to chatting. Maybe you have something to do. So let's. I think I must conclude it here, but I'm going to ask you my last question. So, as you are running as a candidate right now for New Blue Party, and you are very reachable, like I just sent you an email last time, you promptly responded, and you said you are glad to appear. So w- so can you please commit if you get elected, and would you be available appearing on the Sami Parvez show or to any other independent media or journalist like myself uh to give interviews?
Sonny, if by by some the slim chance I get elected, I'm gonna hold you responsible for it. So yes, I will definitely be appearing on your show in the future upon request. I appreciate your show and I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you. I just ask it because, like, as I said before, and I would say it again, like, these elected officials and these big parties always decline my request. Like my local MP and MPP also decline my request. So that's why I ask you. Okay, what's your message to St. Catherine residents and to all Ontarians? Why should they vote for New Blue Party and particularly for you?
For the new Blue Party, if you're looking for a conservative vote, our slogan is the PC party is not blue and they're not for you. It is a good conservative platform. It has everything I like about the conservative platform without the crony capitalism, without the corporate welfare, which is what I really like. And then for me, I'm serious about tackling the housing crisis and the mental health crisis. And I don't believe that the candidates that are running in our area, they are good people. Some of which I know personally, they're great people, and I respect them. But I don't think they have the hands-on experience to tackle these issues at the speed that they need to be tackled.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much, Rob, once again for joining me on the Sami Parvez show. It was a great discussion. Lots of things you shared, where some were very new for me, and the new ideas you shared. And I wish you best of luck on this election. Hopefully, you will make an impact or may bring a change.
Thank you, Sammy. It was an honor and a privilege, and I would love to do it again.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hopefully, we will see you again. And thank
All
you
right.
so much for requesting for a live. And it was very first time that I did an interview live.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm very proud to
Yeah,
be the first one. Thank you very
thank
much.
you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you
Have a
so
good night.
much.